you own a Visa card, the scheme Visa is owned by Visa, and Visa dictates how the card is processed. Currently, as we speak, when you use your Visa card, you insert it into an ATM. Whatever you type goes outside to a Visa processing entity, all of which resides outside Ghana. So if you have, for example, a Visa card from Standard Chartered, and you use a ABSA ATM, the transaction will leave Visa processing unit and comes back into the ATM's bank and vice versa. Now, GhIPSS is taking the responsibility of that processing entity outside. So instead of it going outside, it will come to GhIPSS, and GhIPSS will then pass it on to the ATM's bank. And then from the ATM's bank back to GhIPSS, and from GhIPSS to the cardholder's bank. So that is going to be the process flow. So all the transactions, the work that the international entity, processing entity was doing will all be done by GhIPSS. And that's fundamentally what the difference is. Right. What's the benefit for Ghana? As I explained earlier, for the individual, the cost that you have to pay is now being controlled by GhIPSS, the national switch. So there's an interest in it. So if, for example, once upon a time, Visa says they are going to charge you 20 cents for processing it, this is the time that we are involved, and therefore there will be a healthy discussions between us and Visa that under the circumstances, the role that we are performing is performed locally, because Visa's charges are based on the costs they incur whilst they are processing the transactions. But this is the case where the cost is now being incurred by a local partner, in which case is GhIPSS, so that we have influence on the cost in question. And as I indicated, GhIPSS is a national switch. We do have a public good element to everything that we do. So we have strong influence in the cost factor. So for the individual, the cost is going to reduce. And for all the other various services as well, you have a local partner that will be looking at your interest. When it comes to sovereignty as well, national security, etc., you can imagine that, let's assume that there is nothing happening in Ghana, but where your bank's Visa processor is, it's in a country called A, and there's a hurricane there, and therefore they are not operating. It means that your transaction will not work because there's disruption in that country. But I'm sure if there's a serious hurricane in Ghana, the last thing that we'll be thinking of is whether your Visa card works or not. So we have control over the transactions as well. So these are some of the advantages that you will gain from it.
For you to better understand what that entails, you would also need to look at what the guidelines that the Central Bank of the Bank of Ghana announced a couple of years ago in terms of how we should partner. But if I can just give you a very high level, essentially what the partnership entails is that we're collaborating to facilitate the processing of transactions in Ghana. What that also does, it creates an opportunity for us to partner on other areas that we see opportunities that come within the Ghana ecosystem. Like Mr. Hesse mentioned, Visa is a global player. We operate in over 250 markets. So what that means is that we have insights, we have knowledge, we have capabilities that we've built across the world that we can bring to bear. And this partnership gives the access to be able to access that knowledge and bandwidth that Visa has.